What's up, guys? Snowman. Appreciate you guys stopping by. All you Snow-Tac Knife fans and supporters, I really appreciate you guys. And yeah, so I just wanted to get you guys up to speed on current projects, and also this video is not so much about these vintage knives that I've been working on. I wanted to discuss something in more detail about the tang attachment, and particularly when I align these blades. I figured out early on, after just 2 or 3 knives, that if you get everything mounted, I like to mount my guards first and get those nice and level, and then the handles always really are so much easier to set that way for me. But early on, I figured out after a couple of knives that if you try to line that blade, if you use your dominant eye and you look down the handle, you're going to get an optical illusion of the blade always going towards the right. Take your hollow handle, do a dominant right eye, because most people are dominant right eye. Just look down the blade, it's going to look like it's going a little bit to the right. Okay, now why is that, you ask? Because what it is there's a thing called binocular parallax. Your brain is trying to process the distance between here and there, but there's also the distance between your left and right eye. Okay, when your brain is trying to correlate straight lines, it's binocular parallax. So you can go to your left eye. You can go to your left eye, even though it's not your dominant, or perhaps that may be your dominant eye if you're left-handed. And it doesn't matter if you go to your left eye, even if you're right eye dominant, the blade will always be going to the left. So the bottom line is, I have a system now that I use to line the blades up and get them really straight. Now you got to remember one thing with these hollow handle survival knives: you're going to have a little bit of margin of error. It's really hard, and I know other knife makers will attest to this. It's really hard to get that blade exactly perfect. So if you've got a 1 degree difference, it's not going to be noticeable. Okay, you're never going to notice. It's not going to notice functionality. You may even have up to 2 degrees. But it should be no more than a 1 or 2 degrees. If you have more than that, you're going to be able to notice it. But there's just a little bit of margin error. But I've got a system now where I get them almost exactly centered. So I don't share that because it's a trade secret that I figured out. It's just something I'm not going to share with, because that's going to give me the edge when I make these knives for guys. I want to show you something there. We now put the jimping on top and bottom of our tangs. We put these little slot grooves. They just go in just a tad. It makes them really grabby. You have to have threads on your handles, because that's what locks out that epoxy. It all gets rock hard, and this acts as those threads. It's just a must. It locks it all in there. Of course, we've got our titanium pin, and the epoxy that we use, which is really cool, it expands when it dries. It takes 24 hours to dry. So not only is it going to get locked out with all those threads, and then now we've got the jimping, we've got the titanium pin, but that epoxy expands and it pressurizes. And so the bottom line is, when these things are done the way that we go in as deep as we do with those tangs locked out with titanium pin, you're going to have a catastrophic failure of the blade before this thing ever moves a millimeter. Okay? It's never going to do it. You know, the thing about it is I'm just going to say this. The stress point from the shoulders to about 1 inch, that's where your critical stress point is. Now, is there a chance that it could break? There's always a chance that any knife could break, even a full tang. You have a probability of breakage. There's always a percentage of probability with anything in life. It goes same way with tangs, anything mechanical. You always have a probability of failure. That's why I was watching a video last week. They were showing this rail system in Switzerland where these people go up through the mountain, and it's not a fast speed like a roller coaster, but because, you know, they're enjoying the ride. But the Swiss are very proud of it, and I'm sure they have brilliant engineers on it, but there's always a probability of failure with anything mechanical in life. So there's no guarantees. That's the only point I was trying to make when I commented about it. So we have, just wanted to talk a little bit about this mechanical hold. It is really, really strong, and here's the one thing that I want you to keep in mind on my tang attachment systems. It's an enhanced mechanical hold tang attachment. Since we go in deeper with those tangs, yes, you're going to lose real estate, but you're going to gain a knife that's way more balanced. When your tang is longer, it's going to create better balance. Okay, guys? It's going to index better. So you're going to have, ultimately, you're going to have a safer knife. The end user is going to have a safer knife. What Buckmaster 184 did was a travesty. That's one of my subscribers used that word. I've been really hitting that word hard the last 2 or 3 weeks. But since you have a little pencil tang with a thread and you got a bolt, your knife's going to be forward heavy. You have no weight. You have no substance. When you index a Snow-Tac knife, you can feel the strength inside those handles. Okay? That's all I'm going to say about it. You're going to have catastrophic failure of your blade long before you'll have any type of tang failure. Not on these two particular vintage ones, because I had modifications done on this. My brother welded these tangs and did an outstanding job on them. They're going to be a lot stronger, but when I make my pro Snow-Tac knives, we make the tang like that. We taper them up, and so you got one hell of a, you guys know, I mean, we're talking about 6.8 millimeter blade stock, okay? So let's move on to another subject. You guys get it? I just want you to understand, and I know a lot of you do, how strong these tangs really are, and the wonderful thing is the balance that you get because of the longer tang. Now check this out. We're going to move on to another subject here. This is the LS1. I've got 2 cut out today. These are going to be Snow-Tac clones of the LS1 Commando. Look at the massive, look at that thickness. So I leave these are what they call oversized. This is 6.8 millimeter. And they figure people will wear this down on each side and work it down to 0.250, which is a 1/4 inch. I don't do that. I just barely take this. This is a hot rolled film that's going to get sanded off, and you'll have that shine. Then we'll go to a shiny sheen. It almost looks like a stainless steel 5160. That's why I love it so much. It's got almost 1% chromium. It's not technically a chromium. To get a chromium, you need over 11%. So with 5160, you got around 1%. What's really nice is it gives that really nice stainless look, but it's really high carbon. And some people would argue that, but I'm telling you, if you got 0.60% carbon, anywhere between 0.55, 0.60, it's high carbon. There's enough carbon in there. It's a brilliant steel. For blades that are over 7.5 inches, I recommend it because it can handle so much shock, and it's got flexibility to you. It's got a little bit of malleability to it, and because we're going to take the Rockwell hardness to 58. I take the Rockwell hardness to 58 on the 80 CRV2 and the 5160. We've already got the math figured out. Somebody already did it for me, because when I temper them, I just get them hard as glass when we do the heat treatment. When you temper them, if you temper them at a certain temperature, that's what gives you your Rockwell hardness. But you have to do the timelines correctly as well. So these will be around 58 when we're finished. I'm just in the initial stages of this. I've got to go ahead and profile the outer edges tomorrow. But just so you guys know, look, there's going to be 2 titanium pins locking this out. This is going to be LS1, so these are going to come down, and then your clip point will start. So attention to detail. I'm really looking at this original Jack Crane. I'm inspired by him. There's another guy in Australia, Tetcher, makes outstanding versions of the LS1, LS2. So I go look at his knives very closely. I mean, I'm watching stuff like a hawk. I'm seeing just how attention to detail. So I get obsessed with this stuff. I know I'll probably screw something up on this. This is my first 2. So you gotta know that I'm going to do the best I can to get as close as I can. Now I had another one like this. It was I actually bought it from Pakistan. It was not a LS1, because I really didn't know a lot about these knives. I didn't research a lot. I've seen it back in the 80s, but I didn't think much about it until I started getting back into knives about 10, 12 years ago. So the one that I ended up getting, I thought it was the LS1, but it was actually the Commando version. Or not the Commando version, the Predator. It was the Predator one. And so my story is a little bit like Mark Texer's. I don't know if you pronounce it Tecker or Tetcher, but he initially got, he bought a Pakistani knife, and he got inspired by it. He loved it, and then he knew he could do better. And he did do better. He not only did better, but he, in my opinion, he makes the very best Jack Crane version. So if I can get mine just half as good as his, I'll be happy. But these are going to be really thick blade stock, 6.8. And I got my template here. But what I was going to say is, these are my actual first 2. The Predator one that I did, I just bought the blade. And it was from Pakistan. And I mounted it and did all the rest of it. It's pretty nice, but I don't trust the steel, okay? I like to really know the steel. But anyway, I'm going to go by this template. We're going to have really wide primary grind. Here's a chole with a massive tang locked out with 2 titanium pins. So guys, appreciate you guys stopping by, and I will catch you guys on the next one.